people who have hooked up with an adult film star off camera. How was it? Story 1. She was a great person, and we had a lot in common, but getting intimate with her wasn't at all what you'd imagine. She entered the adult industry shortly after her first sexual experience, so roughly 99% of her encounters had been on camera. Because of that, she literally didn't know how to have normal intimacy with someone outside the industry. Every time we did it, and I didn't explicitly tell her what I wanted, she'd get clumsy and confused. I even started feeling bad for her. In short, she was so used to taking directions that without them, she couldn't relax and enjoy naturally. Story 2. A few months after Zoe Boss turned 18, and just before she entered the adult film industry, I had an intimate encounter with her. She was really eager, and I could tell she was down for almost anything. Interestingly, both my wife and I have kissed another adult actress, also before they chose that career. This happened at different times, long before I met my wife. So yeah, they're just normal people, maybe a bit more attractive, playful, and uninhibited than average. Both girls came from broken homes, felt lost in life, then met the wrong person who offered easy money doing something they already enjoyed. Story 3. For just over a year, I was in an open relationship with an adult actress and her boyfriend, later fiancé, then husband. I've got to say, she was a 10 out of 10 in bed. Now when I watch her videos, I can tell when she's faking it, and I don't think she enjoyed it as much as she let on. She's been in the business for years. Now over 30, she might be scared to start a new career. Over time, her husband grew jealous of our closeness, so I moved away and ended things. Story 4. A few years ago, I met a retired adult actress through a mutual friend. We hit it off great. She'd worked heavily for a couple of years but quit. 6 or 7 years had passed since she left the industry. Surprisingly, our relationship was totally normal, nothing extravagant. She was super playful, and I felt more comfortable in bed with her than any other woman. I've always wondered if a woman really enjoys it or just tries to make me feel good, but with her there was no doubt. She was enthusiastic, knew what she liked, and gave excellent directions. Looking back, it's a shame we couldn't make it last longer. Our schedules clashed, and we both agreed it wouldn't work long term. Story 5. She wasn't an adult film star, but I unknowingly dated a sex worker. She was a charming Korean girl living in LA. I was in the military, so I could only see her every other weekend. She'd always greet me at the door in lingerie and have the most delicious food ready, insisting I eat while she gave me the best massage of my life. We dated for months. As I spent more time with her and her friends, something felt off. They all claimed to be estheticians, commission/tip-based work where you rent salon space and often earn below minimum after expenses. Yet these Korean girls always wore the latest designer clothes, went to clubs with cover charges more than my weekly pay, and wore dresses costing more than my monthly salary. Yeah, I was dating a great girl and hanging with her coworkers. My gut reaction was disgust, realizing I'd been sleeping with someone who sold herself up to 4 to 5 clients on busy nights. But it quickly turned to deep emotional pain. For 6 months, I thought I had a genuine relationship with a group of charming people. It was all built on a lie. We broke up, and I never spoke to any of them again. Story 6 actually happened twice. First, a French adult actress. I'm European. It was an escort encounter, mind-blowing pleasure for 2 hours doing things I didn't know existed. She was kind, genuinely wanted to please me, and enjoyed it too. But it was all for money. Second, a casual hookup with a girl I couldn't stop thinking, she looks familiar, like from a video. Turned out to be a Hungarian adult actress visiting Brussels, where I live. I only recognized her weeks later. Probably the kindest girl I've ever met. I showed her around the city, took her to dinner, and we ended up at her hotel. With her, I learned the difference between wild sex and romantic lovemaking. We spent the whole night cuddling, my arms around hers. I'd do it again in a heartbeat, not just because she was a goddess in bed, but because she touched my heart. In short, an unforgettable experience. Story 7. In my experience, it was incredible. She was super confident, had the prettiest intimate area I've ever seen, and the most elaborate piercing, 3 connected by a gold chain with hanging gemstones. I joked with my roommate it looked like a chandelier. She was also amazing at dirty talk, which I love, and switched between submissive and dominant the whole time. New for me since I'd never been dominated by a girl before. She grabbed my beard, called me a bad boy, and said as punishment I had to go down on her. It was thrilling, one of my top 3 intimate experiences ever. Story 8. It was a very interesting experience, definitely different from what I expected. I hooked up with a woman in her mid-40s who was into younger guys. I've always preferred older women. They tend to have way more experience. She had a huge sexual appetite, but after about an hour and a half I literally had to tap out. So if you ever get the chance, go for it. Just don't be surprised if it's completely unlike what you imagined. Story 9. Mid-90s, I worked in LA as a photographer's assistant for an adult magazine. Many models also did adult films. As assistant, I handled loose ends the photographer didn't want to deal with. I was about 25. One day we shot with a popular adult actress/model. She was excellent, followed directions, loved the camera attention. Super attractive but also sweet. We shot 20 rolls of 35 millimeters, some 120. When done, I packed gear and cleaned up. Usually I'd call a taxi if the model didn't drive. That day she seemed to be waiting for someone. After packing, she was still there. I'd asked if she needed a cab. She said she'd rather I drive her. Her place wasn't near mine, but was close to the photo lab. I said I had to drop off film first, then take her home. Traffic sucked. We were late to the lab, but made it in time. We chatted about moving from the Midwest, what our parents thought of our jobs, etc. Mine didn't really know what kind of photographer I assisted. She said her parents had basically disowned her. Back in the car, heading to her place, it was late and I was hungry. She was too, so she suggested grabbing Thai nearby and eating at her place. Why not? I'm an average guy, kinda ugly-faced, not a stud. Clearly out of her league. But I was having fun and went with it. We ate Thai, drank a couple beers. It got late. She said I could crash, and we'd watch The Breakfast Club on VHS. We bonded over loving it earlier. Her place was closer to the lab where I had to pick up prints at 10 a.m. Why not? I sat on the couch. She put in the tape and sat right next to me, very close. We didn't even make it past the opening credits. The sex was incredible, one of the best of my life. Afterwards, she confessed she was attracted because I seemed interested in her as a person and treated her well, unlike the guys she usually worked with. We woke up the next morning. I showered before the lab. We ended up dating for almost 2 years. I even took her home to meet my parents. Story 10. I hooked up with 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏, stage name not real. On Tinder, she used her real name. I lived in Hollywood then and matched with several adult actresses. Most I recognized instantly. They wanted followers, not dates. I hadn't seen Carmen's work. We met for our first date. Had a blast. She was really sweet, dressed cute, loved pink. She was hesitant to talk about work, so we discussed other stuff. The date went well enough for her to invite me over, and we had sex. I remember thinking during, she's too good at this. Feels professional. The next day, after a couple more rounds, I went home very satisfied. We chatted on Instagram for a couple weeks. She was passive about a second date. Always will see, or might be working. Finally, she said a second date wasn't a good idea. I asked why. She wasn't ready for a relationship. Her career was in a weird spot. That's when she gave her stage name and suggested I Google it before hanging up. I did, watched some videos and messaged. Her job didn't bother me. I'd had open relationships, could separate sex from feelings, and wasn't jealous. She never replied but sent friend requests on all my socials. We still chat occasionally. In short, a sweetheart and a 10-10 in bed. Story 11. My friend and I visited his older brother at college, partied hard, got drunk and started talking to a shy but stunning girl. Surprised no guys were after her. We chatted about college life. She was a freshman. Didn't realize she was flirting, low self-esteem, until my friend WhatsApped, take her to her room. Suggested ice cream. We hit McDonald's, got it, went to her dorm. We had sex, but I held off finishing. I wanted her fully satisfied first. Then she asked me to record her on her iPhone while I went down on her. Felt like the luckiest guy alive. Fell asleep, woke up to her grinding on me. We went raw, stupid and risky, but the moment got me. Got her number, but contact faded fast once I was back home. I was so naive I bragged to friends about needing an STD test after unprotected sex. Later found out she became a cam girl and now has tons of adult videos. I watch them often. She's in my default top 5. Most times I get distracted remembering our night, and that's enough to finish. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. She's the hottest girl I've ever been with. My friend and I never told anyone. We're both married now, not a story to brag about anymore. Story 12. I was pretty shy, and honestly she was too, maybe more. Since I didn't know her through the industry, she worried about telling me. She seemed relieved when I wasn't freaked out. For my part, since she did tons of wild stuff for work, I figured I must be too vanilla for her. But she basically said she didn't need to bring work home. Once I got over my insecurities, the experience was pretty good, not mind-blowing but fun. We fooled around a lot. Overall, really cool. Story 13. We didn't have full sex, but there was heavy petting. Not naming her. She's not well known and we're still on good terms. A few years ago, I messaged a girl who'd modeled on a bondage site. I have a thing for tied-up women. She invited me to the Northern California strip club where she worked. Found me attractive, sat with me most of the night. Let me get pretty close to her boobs, lots of touching. Downside, couldn't tie her up there, wrong venue. Story 14. Met an adult actress who told me about her industry experience before we slept together. She was honest. I had no issue. The sex was great, though not like an adult film scene. Just normal, nothing too wild. We dated about 3 months and ended on good terms, No hard feelings. At one point, she gave her stage name and permission to look her up. I did. It was weird. Only saw thumbnails, but spotted her with Jordi El Niño Paula. Got grossed out and stopped. When she asked, I admitted it bothered me a bit. She told me to relax and just enjoy our time. Separately, hooked up with someone on vacation who years later became a well-known adult actress. Also knew a couple people who did 1 or 2 scenes after meeting me, and a few escorts, mostly one-night stands.